Chapter 3661. How could this be? The representatives of the 4 trading houses who were supporting their young masters immediately turned pale. This is clearly him. How could you? They couldn't even speak clearly. Obviously they were very angry. City Lord Lu didn't wait for them to finish speaking and had already interrupted them sternly. Miss D is right. The young masters of these 4 trading houses used the rules of the auction to frame other trading houses. This kind of behavior is really too despicable. As the organizer, we will definitely give the treasure gathering an explanation. The executive elder also followed. This attitude made the representatives of the 4 trading houses so angry that they wanted to vomit blood. There was also the trading house that was dissatisfied and wanted to refute. However, it was stopped by the side of the trading house that was watching the show. Forget it, the Red Clear Court has already stepped in. It is already the best result that they didn't take your lives. You should be content, don't make your situation even more ugly. The face of the representative of the trading house was flushed red. City Lord Lu coughed lightly in case of accidents, hurriedly called over the people of the 4 trading houses and directly forcibly took them downstairs. No matter how the 4 trading houses begged for mercy, no one cared. Until the representatives of the 4 trading houses were directly thrown out of the auction in front of everyone's eyes. For a moment, they suffered all kinds of pointing and criticism from the citizens that came and went. Smelly old man, let me tell you. If you don't help me get justice today, I will definitely ask my father to kick you out of the trading house. When had the young masters who were beaten suffered such grievances? They instantly felt that they had lost face and started to shout. The representatives of the few trading houses looked at their young masters whose face was red and swollen like a pig's head. They really wanted to punch him. You dare to be arrogant now? Why is it that when you were inside, you were like a turtle with its head in its shell and didn't say a word? Of all people, you had to provoke the treasure-gathering trading house that has already climbed up the tree. You still have the face to blame us. Don't you have any eyesight? The treasure-gathering trading house was able to climb up after being at the bottom for as long as 4 years, and even let the auction house arrange the treasure-gathering on the 2nd floor. You should know clearly. If it didn't have this ability, would it be arranged on the 2nd floor? You still have the face to yell at us? Think about how you're going to explain this to boss and the people behind you when you get back. The representatives were also fuming with rage. He was having a headache after being messed around by these few young masters. Young Master Wang held onto his broken hand and felt wronged. We didn't do it on purpose. It's all because of that woman. If we had known that treasure gathering had such a strong backer, we wouldn't have been bewitched by that woman. That woman is too ruthless. To think that she's the Empyrean fairy of Without Embroiling City. Bah! The 3 young masters who were still conscious ridiculed each other. The representatives understood the deeper meaning behind his words, and their expressions froze. What woman? What Empyrean fairy? It's the Empyrean fairy of Without Embroiling City, that Princess Yu Lu. She told us where the treasure-gathering hall is located on the 2nd floor and intentionally provoked us to go over and greet her. The representatives looked at each other. The Empyrean fairy of Without Embroiling City. Their eyes lit up and they quickly walked toward the auction. We want to see City Lord Lu. We have something to say. At this moment, the people on the 2nd floor had no idea what was happening below. Chapter 3662. Yiqing Luo speechlessly looked at the fawning City Lord Lu. The moment the people from Red Clear Pavilion appeared, everyone felt that this Red Clear Pavilion was here for her. Difu, cough Miss D. That old Lai who was originally injured, suddenly jumped up from the ground and rushed to Yiqing Luo's side. When did you hook up with the people from Red Clear Pavilion? You obviously agreed to let me help you. How could I let that Red Clear Pavilion snatch my limelight? Old Lai's face was filled with unwillingness as he stared resentfully at the black-robed guard. Yiqing Luo once again. Damn it. She really didn't know anyone from Red Clear Pavilion, and had nothing to do with people from Heaven Realm. No, that's not right. Jin Zi was also considered as someone from Heaven Realm. But Jin Zi, that Huangfu family's man. When he saw her, he probably couldn't wait to find trouble with her. It was impossible for him to use the name of Red Clear Pavilion to help. So a large group of people thought that Red Clear Pavilion appeared because of her. What kind of joke was this? Just at this moment, the black-clothed dark team guard, whom Old Lai had glared at with hatred, walked toward them step by step. Every step he took, Yiqing Luo's brows creased slightly. Old Lai directly stood in front of her and opened up his arms, blocking her behind his back. Following that, he put on a protective expression. People from Red Clear Pavilion, this is Hell Palace's VIP, don't even think of snatching. However, his valiant and high-spirited declaration of sovereignty didn't make the black-robed guard's expression waver at all. The black-robed guard only stood in front of Old Lai. His vision went past Old Lai and looked towards Yiqing Luo. "Miss, my master invites you over." Everyone stared at the black-robed guard in astonishment and looked at Yiqing Luo. Everyone's faces were filled with shock and disbelief. Whereas Qiao Yinyan, Pei Sheng and Old Man Song all had an expression of, indeed. They were here for Luo. Yiqing Luo? Mother Her. Red Clear Pavilion's target was really for her. Mississippi, the black-robed guard called out in a heavy tone. Yiqing Luo gathered her thoughts and frowned at him. "Who is your master?" It didn't take long for her to reach the Earth domain. This Hongqing Pavilion's pavilion master, who was known as a mysterious force, actually wanted to see her? This action of speaking up for the treasures trading firm. Was it a good deed or a bad deed? The black-clothed secret guard said indifferently, "You will know once you follow me in." Yiqing Luo's brows rose. "If you don't explain clearly, I'm just a young lady with no strength to truss a chicken, with a devastatingly beautiful face. If I follow you like this, what should I do if your master's bestial nature flares up?" As she spoke, she waved her hand. I'm not going. The onlookers? Too weak to even strangle a chicken? Girl, are you sure you understand the true meaning of this word? Furthermore, if the pavilion master of the Red Clarity Pavilion really took a fancy to you and his bestial nature was unleashed, wouldn't that be your good fortune? Wasn't it enough to have the master of the Red Clarity Pavilion as his backing? The surrounding spectators all wished that they could enter the eyes of the Scarlet Clear Pavilion's pavilion master. The black-robed secret guard was apparently agitated by Yiqing Luo's shameless words. That expressionless face twitched a little. Following that, his cold eyes stared at Yiqing Luo as he spoke calmly. "Master said he guessed that you would say that, so he asked me to pass on a message to you." The crowd pricked up their ears. Yiqing Luo raised her head and looked at the black-robed secret guard. Chapter 3663. I go. Yiqing Luo's gaze turned cold as she raised her tone, interrupting the black-robed guard's words. Luo. Qiao Yinyan and Pei Sheng looked worriedly at the black-robed guard and looked at Yiqing Luo. They totally didn't understand the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master. Leaving Luo alone to meet that mysterious man. How could they be at ease? Old Lai, who was ignored by the black-robed guard, had an ugly expression. "Who is your pavilion master? How dare you snatch someone from me? I'm telling you, with me here today, none of you can." Old Lai. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and placed it on Old Lai's shoulder. She patted lightly on Old Lai's shoulder. No matter, his master might be an old acquaintance. The name that the black-clothed secret guard had called out was Miss Yi. In other words, the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master knew her real identity. Most importantly, although the black-robed guard's expression was cold, his attitude towards her wasn't considered good. But she could tell. The other party didn't have any murderous intent. Moreover, the other party had appeared and helped her earlier. She was also curious who the other party was. Seeing Yiqing Luo's insistence, the few of them had a solemn expression as they looked at each other for a moment. Old Lai then put on an abandoned expression as he gave a heavy harumph. He strode towards the previous cabin and entered. City Lord Lu immediately tried to smooth things over with a smile. "The auction is about to start, please don't take this episode to heart." Following that, he smiled towards Pei Sheng's direction. "Young Master Qiao, Boss Pei, both of you return to your cabin to rest for a while. I guarantee that no one else will disturb the treasure-gathering cabin." There was no need for his guarantee at all. The Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master had personally invited Di Luo. Who else would take things too hard to find trouble with the treasure gathering? Under City Lord Lu and the executive elder's insistent request, the VIPs on the second floor also returned to their own cabins. But the topic of discussion was no longer about the auction, what good items would be put up for auction in the auction. But it was about Di Luo's identity, as well as the relationship between Di Luo and the Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master. On the other side, Yiqing Luo followed the black-robed guard and stopped at the entrance of the cabin. The black-clothed secret guard stopped in his tracks. He had no intention of entering. Yiqing Luo glanced sideways at the black-robed secret guard as she extended her perception towards the interior of the house. The bodyguard in black glanced at her and said indifferently, "I'll be waiting for you inside." Yiqing Luo's perception swept around. He didn't sense anyone's aura in the room. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. She couldn't sense anything with her senses. Or there was really nothing inside. Either that or the person in the room was more powerful than her. Moreover, it was higher than her profound rank by at least 3 ranks. Although, in the Earth realm, there were countless people who had higher profound ranks than her. But, with her perception even when facing Xiao Yulu who had used external power to break through to the divine profound realm, she was still able to react. Her heart froze up tightly. Miss Yi, if you're not willing to go in, I don't mind helping you. The black-robed secret guard saw Yi Qingluo not taking any action and opened his mouth to urge. True enough. This person knew her true identity. She raised her hand and placed it on the door handle. But she didn't push the door open. Instead she raised her head and looked at the black-robed secret guard. Your master, who exactly is he? Chapter 3664. Yi Qingluo hadn't had the chance to probe further. Suddenly the room door creaked open automatically. Yi Qingluo's hand which was on the door handle sank downwards. Her body unconsciously staggered forward. Her feet hit the door sill. Her entire body fell downwards. F***K. Yi Qingluo cursed in her heart. How unlucky could she be? She was about to take a deep breath to stabilize her body which was about to kiss the earth. She hadn't had the time to react. She only felt a familiar smell coming from her nostrils. A simple yet elegant plum fragrance lingered in her nostrils. A pair of thick arms steadily caught her. Yi Qingluo froze. This aura was familiar. Almost a whiff. Yi Qingluo was able to ascertain the other party's identity. But she couldn't understand. Why would he appear here? Yi Qingluo frowned as she struggled to break free from the wrist which was restraining her arm. But that arm which was supporting her suddenly increased the strength of his hands. Her delicate body was locked tightly in the other party's arms. Yi Qingluo's brows knitted even tighter. She looked up angrily. The moment she looked up, she met a pair of deep as the abyss, with a bottomless black pupils. That pair of eyes were extremely dark and gloomy. It was quiet and serene without the slightest bit of brilliance. Just staring fixedly at Yi Qingluo. There was a trace of coldness in his eyes. However, if one were to look closely, one would be able to see deep emotions in the depths of those black eyes. Yi Qingluo's delicate body stiffened as her pink lips pursed slightly. Let go. She hugged the man at such a close distance. It made Yi Qingluo feel extremely uncomfortable. Her body was repulsed by any intimate touch from the opposite sex other than Diamo Xian. I won't let go. The man opened his mouth, his voice was deep and his pair of dark eyes became increasingly deep. I miss you very much. Even when I see you, I can't bear to let go. Following his words, he even forcefully pulled Yi Qingluo into his arms. Both arms hugged the young lady's delicate body tightly, as though he wanted to taint the young lady's body with his scent. That plum fragrance, although simple yet elegant. But Yi Qingluo couldn't stand it. Her eyelashes fluttered, and she grabbed his hand that was restraining her. Zhu Wuxin, let go of me. The person in front of him, it was none other than Zhu Wuxin. Red Clear Pavilion's pavilion master, Zhu Wuxin. Yi Qingluo had not expected that she would be able to meet Zhu Wuxian when she reached the earth boundary. Previously, she had indeed guessed Zhu Wuxin's identity. He was definitely not just the castle lord of Death God Castle in the lower realm, or the Chu Wuxin who was respectfully addressed as young Master Zhu. However, she didn't expect Chu Wuxin to be such a famous figure in the upper 3 realms. Since he was a mysterious force in the upper realm, and it was said that he was from the heaven realm. Why did he have to go to the lower world to cooperate with the Palace of Gloomy Darkness? Moreover, since Zhu Wuxin was someone from the upper realm, it was impossible for him to do so. In that case, what happened when Zhu Wuxin and the original owner of this body decided on a relationship over 10 years ago? When Zhu Wuxin heard her soft rebuke, he laughed softly. A faint smile bloomed on that cold and contoured face. He smiled, Yi Qingluo, I finally heard you calling my name, I miss you so much. Yi Qingluo's face didn't show any joy of reuniting with an old friend. She pursed her lips tightly as her tone was displeased. If you want to reminisce about the past, let go of me now. Otherwise, if you continue to maintain this position, then there's nothing for us to talk about. Chapter 3665. Yi Qingluo, who had left Zhu Wuxian's embrace, moved and immediately distanced herself from Zhu Wuxian by 5 steps. She stood at the other corner of the room as she looked at him warily. Why are you here? Zhu Wuxian was still smiling. It made his handsome face, which was cold and stiff, look much gentler in contrast. Especially that pair of deep black eyes, it was tainted with a faint warmth. This was a smile from the bottom of his heart. His vision had always been following Yiqing Luo. As though he was looking at his own treasure, cherishing and deep. "You're here, so I'm here." Words filled with deep emotions. But it made Yiqing Luo tremble. "You followed me?" "No." Zhu Wuxian replied straightforwardly. Yiqing Luo didn't let her guard down. "Then how did you know that I'm here?" Zhu Wuxian remained silent for a moment as the emotions in his eyes had some changes. The only thing that didn't change was that he kept staring at Yiqing Luo, not willing to shift his gaze away. "I know that you're in the earth boundary, so I followed you here." He paused. "When I heard the name Di Luo, I knew. It must be you. So here I am." Yiqing Luo looked at Zhu Wuxian for some time. Finally, she retracted her vigilant gaze. Based on Zhu Wuxian's character, he shouldn't be lying. "Why did you come here to look for me? Or could it be that the people from Secluded Palace are also in the earth boundary?" Yiqing Luo sat on the chair by the side as she frowned slightly. She recalled the black-robed men who had set up the soul-devouring array and made use of Xiaoyulu to kill her. Those black-robed men seemed to want her soul? She had been guessing. Could those black-robed men be from Secluded Palace? Now that she saw Zhu Wuxian, Yiqing Luo was even more suspicious of those black-robed men's identities. "I've already cancelled the collaboration with Secluded Palace." Zhu Wuxian's eyes were burning as his dark eyes were filled with cloying gentleness. "Yiqing Luo, Secluded Palace hurt you, so I can't help them anymore." "Hurt me?" Yiqing Luo raised her brows. "It seems that when we were in Nirvana Realm, Secluded Palace had done quite a number of things to hurt me." Zhu Wuxian's expression finally showed some changes. He frowned. "I'm sorry." This baffling apology made Yiqing Luo slightly stunned. Then he understood the meaning behind Zhu Wuxian's apology. He was apologizing for working with the Palace of Gloomy Darkness. Yiqing Luo met his gaze calmly and indifferently. "There's no need to apologize for what has already happened. Moreover, this indeed has nothing much to do with you." "Yiqing Luo." Zhu Wuxian frowned. "I don't like the look in your eyes, and I don't like you excluding me." Yiqing Luo stood up. "Thank you for your help earlier. I will return this favor to you if there's a chance." As she spoke, she walked towards the door. "The auction is about to begin. I'll head back to treasure gathering first." Yiqing Luo. Her feet had yet to move. Zhu Wuxian's low and hoarse voice came from behind. His voice was very soft and there was a hint of hurt in it. "An old friend reuniting in an old place. Must you use this kind of attitude to face me? I'm helping you not because I want a favor from you." A young man who had always been indifferent. At this moment he uttered a long string of words. Yiqing Luo didn't turn back and couldn't see her expression clearly. Chapter 3666. The more they got involved, it would only make Zhu Wuxian's feelings for her grow deeper. She was unable to reciprocate his feelings. She shouldn't get too involved with Zhu Wuxian. "As for the favor of helping you gather treasure, no matter if you accept it or not, I will definitely return it," Yiqing Luo secretly said resolutely. Zhu Wuxian fixed his gaze on the young lady's eyes. Looking at the young lady's pair of charming eyes, it was filled with sincerity and determination. His heart seemed to have been pierced fiercely by something. He could tell. Yiqing Luo really didn't want to get too involved with him. He could tell. Yiqing Luo was avoiding the feelings between them. His lips suddenly curled upwards as he smiled. That handsome icy cold face seemed to surface with a layer of pain emotion. Obviously knowing that she didn't want to get too involved with him. Obviously knowing that she was unable to accept his feelings. But he couldn't control his heart. He couldn't control the urge to get closer to Yiqing Luo. Even if he was hated. At least, in her heart, there was still a place for him. Zhu Wuxian's eyes suddenly flashed. His figure followed closely and got closer to Yiqing Luo. The sudden plum fragrance assaulted her senses. Yiqing Luo staggered a step backwards. But her wrist was caught by Zhu Wuxian. Yiqing Luo wanted to struggle. Zhu Wuxian's grip became even tighter. His slender fingers wrapped tightly around her wrist. Beneath his eyes, there was a glint which hid a deep meaning which no one could see clearly. When Yiqing Luo met his eyes, she was stunned by his eyes which were as deep as the sea. "You said you want to return the favor, right?" Zhu Wuxian's voice was very low and filled with magnetism. Yiqing Luo's slender brows creased as she slightly struggled against his hand and her pink lips pursed slightly. "Yes." Instead, Zhu Wuxian tightened his grip on her wrist and leaned forward. Yiqing Luo fell into Zhu Wuxian's arms. Just as she was about to struggle, A man's low and hoarse voice floated from above her head. Then, the favor I want you to return is to accompany me during the auction. Yi Qingluo's hands were placed on his chest, trying to pull apart the distance between them. He was about to refuse. The man's voice floated down again. I don't ask you to stay by my side. I just want to watch you during the auction. Once the auction is over, I will leave the Earth domain. His voice sounded a little lonely. Just listening to it made one's heart ache. It's just a small request. Can't I? Yi Qingluo's heart was filled with complicated emotions. Her eyelashes fluttered, and her heart felt heavy and uncomfortable. To be honest, she did not dislike Zhu Wuxin. She also admired his persistence in love, even if it was just his stubbornness and not love. But he still insisted that he liked her heart. If not for Zhu Wuxin's stubbornness towards her, perhaps they could really become good friends. Listening to the man's low voice, Yi Zichen's eyes widened. Yi Qingluo's heart wasn't feeling good at all. She sighed. Okay, I promise you. Zhu Wuxin loosened his arms around her, his eyes filled with a faint smile. Thank you. Yi Qingluo looked at him with a complicated expression. The usually cold young man in front of her was like a kid who had stolen candy. It was impossible to say that her heart wasn't touched. Of course, this touch didn't mean that she was touched by his feelings. Only, her heart ached a little. Her heart ached for his persistence towards the original owner. Chapter 3667. I need to go over and greet the brothers from the treasure gathering first. They will be worried. Yi Qingluo retreated a few steps away from Zhu Wuxian and said. Zhu Wuxian's brows rose. You've just arrived in the Earth realm not too long ago and you've already integrated into the Earth realm's lifestyle so quickly? He paused as he squinted his eyes. You even became brothers with those people? When Yi Qingluo heard that, she didn't reply him, but her eyes flickered slightly as she looked at him in puzzlement. Didn't you say that you didn't follow me? Then how do you know that I've just arrived in the Earth realm not too long ago? According to what Dmo Xian said, she had been in the Earth realm for at least a month. Zhu Wuxian didn't know that she had been unconscious for at least half a month before she regained consciousness. How could he be so certain that she had just arrived in the Earth realm not too long ago? Zhu Wuxian's expression didn't change as his deep eyes looked deeply at her. The day you left Nirvana realm, I sensed your presence disappearing in Nirvana realm and I roughly guessed your whereabouts. He laughed lightly, but you're indeed you. No matter where you go, there will always be people who will succumb to your charm. He smiled as he looked at her with a gentle and deep gaze. Yi Qingluo felt a little uncomfortable from that gaze. She averted her gaze and coughed lightly. Treat people with sincerity and you will get those who treat you sincerely. I'll greet them first. Saying that, she hurriedly opened the room door and walked out. Yi Qingluo didn't turn back. Naturally, she didn't see it. At the instance when her gaze shifted away, that young man who was looking at her with a burning gaze had a slight change in his expression. He heaved a sigh of relief as though he had avoided a certain topic. After coming out from Zhu Wuxian's cabin, Yi Qingluo felt the gazes from all directions converging onto her. Everyone was curious. Her relationship with the Red Clear Pavilion Master. They were all curious about the outcome after her meeting with the Red Clear Pavilion Master. Yi Qingluo didn't bother about those gazes which were shot at her. She headed directly towards the treasure-gathering cabin. Wherever she passed by, as long as there was someone passing by, they would subconsciously give way to her. Yi Qingluo, after getting involved with the Red Clear Pavilion Master, how could he even get preferential treatment? Before he could get far, he saw Pei Sheng and the others rushing over. On seeing that Yi Qingluo was safe and sound, his anxious and solemn expression loosened up. You're finally out. Xiaoyan sized up Yi Qingluo for a moment. Is the person inside Hongqing Pavilion's Pavilion Master? Yi Qingluo nodded her head. Are you really acquainted with the Scarlet Clarity Pavilion's Pavilion Master? Xiao Yinyan asked with a complicated expression. From seeing Yi Qingluo safe and sound, walking out of the Red Clear Pavilion's private room. Basically, he could confirm it. The relationship between Yi Qingluo and the Red Clear Pavilion was not shallow. Xiao Yinyan was a little surprised. Not only did Yi Qingluo have a close relationship with the Hell Palace, now even the Red Clear Pavilion had contacted them. Luo, did the Red Clarity Pavilion make things difficult for you? Pei Sheng asked worriedly. Yi Qingluo shook her head. I'm fine. I'm old friends with the Red Clear Pavilion's Pavilion Master. Go to the private room and wait first. If there's anything else, come over to this private room to look for me. Red Clear Pavilion's people won't dare to stop you. You're not coming back to the private room with us? Xianxia frowned. Chapter 3668. Xianxia's brows creased even tighter as his gaze towards Yiqing Luo was filled with deep thoughts. Yiqing Luo smiled at him. During the auction, mysterious maiden might make a move, so be careful. The two of them wanted to say something. But looking at Yiqing Luo's gaze, they didn't say anything in the end. After sending the two of them back to the cabin, Yiqing Luo then returned to Zhu Wuxian's cabin. Old Lai chased after her as he hollered, "Ask that whatever pavilion master from Red Clear Pavilion to come out and battle with me. He dares to snatch the person whom I want to protect." This clamor attracted the attention of even more people. Some of them were even more curious about Yiqing Luo's identity. Xiao Yinyan and Pei Xing tried their best to persuade Old Lai to return. Hearing the holler behind her, Yiqing Luo sighed helplessly. She had just stepped into the room. Between her nostrils, an elegant plum fragrance entered her nostrils. The young man's fingers moved as he stretched out towards the young lady. This time the young lady was long prepared. Just as the plum fragrance assailed her nostrils, her figure had already agilely evaded to the side. The young man's hands hugged empty air. His hands froze in midair as he suddenly laughed lightly. "I thought you wouldn't come over." Yiqing Luo walked to the chair by the side and sat down as she lifted the curtain in front and looked at the scene of the auction on the first floor. "I promised you, so naturally I will come over." Zhu Wuxian slowly walked to her side as his voice was slightly hoarse. "You also promised to become my wife, but in the end didn't you still go back on your words?" Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. She couldn't possibly say that the person who promised to marry him wasn't her? Zhu Wuxian didn't continue to harp on this topic as he sat beside Yiqing Luo. "Hell Palace's people seem to value you very much? Since when were you able to subdue that bunch of lunatics from Hell Palace?" The design of the second floor's cabin was extremely ingenious. Even if the covering curtain was lifted from all directions, including the first floor of the auction, no one was able to see clearly who the person in the cabin was. But even if they couldn't see the person in the cabin clearly, Yiqing Luo also noticed that most of the people present were looking towards the direction of this cabin. Evidently, they were trying to guess exactly who from the Red Clarity Pavilion had come to the auction. Yiqing Luo leaned back on the chair as she glanced sideways at the person beside her. "Old Lai he is just returning a favor." She paused for a moment before continuing. "Moreover, the Underworld Palace isn't as complicated as you think it is. Their thoughts are relatively simple. As long as you treat them with the same simple attitude, they naturally won't go crazy over a single disagreement. That's only for you." Zhu Wuxian smiled as he shook his head. Even the Red Clarity Pavilion might not dare to fight with the Hell Palace. However, looking at the attitude of that person from the Hell Palace, I'm afraid a fight is unavoidable. "I won't," Yiqing Luo replied confidently. "Old Lai knows that you're my friend, so he's just grumbling a little." "Friend?" Chu Wuxin chuckled and muttered these two words. His tone seemed to be mocking and self-deprecating. Yiqing Luo's eyes flickered slightly, but she still didn't say a word. He just quietly looked down at the sea of people at the scene. After the matter of the hall master being attracted by the treasure gathering, the crowd was even more bustling than before. Quite a number of people were secretly trying to find out about Di Luo's identity. She didn't say a word. Zhu Wuxian didn't open his mouth as well. The two of them just remained silent. Yiqing Luo looked at the first floor. Chapter 3669. Yiqing Luo naturally felt the young man's scorching gaze beside her. But she didn't intentionally mention it. But if she cared, it would only make Zhu Wuxian feel that he had a deep influence on her. She didn't know when the auction would start. Yiqing Luo simply emptied her mind and body as she started to revolve the profound energy in her body, lingering around the profound jade heart, training her own control towards the profound jade heart. Not knowing how long had passed, until she heard Zhu Wuxian's soft voice calling out to her. Yiqing Luo blinked her slightly sore eyes in enlightenment. The auction has already started. Zhu Wuxian saw her regaining her senses and explained, "You're here to take part in the auction should be to let the treasure gathering obtain the best trading house honor. I think you shouldn't wish to miss out on the other trading house's transaction amount, so I woke you up." His voice was calm without any undulations. But it still made Yiqing Luo laugh in astonishment. "Zhu Wuxian, this is the first time you've said so many words in one go, right?" Zhu Wuxian's expression went into a daze, as though he had not expected Yiqing Luo to reply him in this way as his gaze subconsciously shifted to another place. It was rare to see Zhu Wuxian having such an expression. Yiqing Luo laughed as she teased him. Following that, she placed her attention onto the auction below. The auction was currently bidding for the first item. According to the auction's rules towards the trading house, when they were bidding for the items, it wouldn't reveal which trading house the item belonged to. The first item was a rather good weapon, and the price had already reached 10,000 crystal stones, which was considered an extremely high price. In the end, this item was successfully auctioned off at 15,000 crystal stones. Following that, quite a number of auction items were brought up. One after another, the further it was, the more valuable the items were. The people who had rushed over from various main cities were getting more and more enthusiastic as they kept on bidding. It was until the seventh item when Yiqing Luo saw the beauty cream being placed on the auction stage. The appearance of the beauty cream caused numerous ladies to cry out in shock. The auctioneer was someone who was decided by City Lord Lu and the executive elder. But due to Xiao Yulu's character, Yiqing Luo was still worried. She used her perceptive power to pay attention to the auctioneer and whether the beauty cream had been secretly swapped by someone. Zhu Wuxin noticed that her emotions had become tense. His gaze followed her gaze and looked towards the auction stage. He said, "Don't worry. Everyone in the auction knows that you're one of my people. They won't dare to play any tricks." Yiqing Luo raised her brows. Red Clear Pavilion and Linglong Palace, who is more powerful? The Hall of Nimbleness is just a legend in the Earth domain, but even the firmament knows of the Scarlet Clarity Pavilion. The implication was that the Linglong Palace simply could not be compared to the Red Clear Pavilion. They were simply not on the same level. However, Yiqing Luo didn't let down her guard. Don't belittle a woman's jealousy. When a woman goes crazy, she might not even care about her own life. A hint of coldness flashed across Zhu Wuxin's eyes. That mystic fairy, right? There was a hint of killing intent in his tone. Yiqing Luo glanced sideways at him. This matter, I can settle it, don't interfere. Since even the God Realm was aware of the power of the Scarlet Clarity Pavilion, this was enough to prove that Zhu Wuxin's status was above the Earth Realm. Every realm had its own balance. If Zhu Wuxin attacked, he would destroy the balance in the land. Chapter 3670. Yiqing Luo didn't want this matter to blow up. That's true. You like to settle your own enemies. Zhu Wuxian seemed to have thought of something as he laughed out loud. Yiqing Luo took another look at him and didn't say a word as she turned her gaze back onto the auction house. The beautifying ointment had been promoted for the past 2 days. Basically, all the female customers present were all here for the beautifying ointment. Which lady didn't want to be beautiful? Which lady didn't wish for her skin to be as fair as snow? As the saying goes, whiteness can cover 100 ugliness. As long as she used the beautifying ointment to make herself younger and prettier, becoming even more beautiful and alluring. Who didn't want this magical ointment? The number of crystal stones in the auction increased by 10,000 by 10,000. Later on, it simply increased by 100,000 by 100,000. In just a short moment, it had already increased to 700,000 crystal stones. This price made all the representatives in the auction hall felt their hearts churning as they were unable to calm down. It also made all the bidders drew in a breath of cold air. This small bottle of ointment. It was actually auctioned to the highest price in the entire auction. Many of the male customers who were bidding crazily for the divine weapons, profound energy-raising pills etc. were all shocked silly by this scene. Originally they thought that their bidding was already crazy enough. Now looking at this group of ladies as though they had gone mad, totally not caring about the crystal stones as they kept increasing the price. They only had one thought in their minds: this group of women had gone mad. This also made numerous businessmen saw a business opportunity. Speaking of which, it was much easier to earn crystal stones from women than men. In the end, the first bottle of beautifying ointment was directly auctioned off at the price of 1,300,000 crystal stones. Many ladies were forcefully stopped by the people around them from continuing to shout. There were also some ladies who were thinking. And based on the beautifying ointment, now the price was very high. Later when they were tired of shouting, the price would definitely drop. When that beautifying ointment was sold at 1,300,000 crystal stones, it was exchanged with the bidder. Then the next auction item was opened. Only after the auction of the beautifying ointment, everyone's enthusiasm was almost depleted. They were all immersed in the fact that the price of the beautifying ointment had exceeded the total amount of all the items in the auction hall. Because of this, the auction for this item wasn't that intense. Everyone's emotions were still lingering on the beautifying cream. When the woman who won the bid for the beauty cream was about to leave the venue with it, He was surrounded by a large group of women. The women did not want to snatch the beautifying cream by force. After all, the hall master of the Linglong Palace was present. They were not crazy enough to ignore the rules. They stared at the beautifying cream with hope in their eyes. Miss, can you apply the beautifying cream in public for us to see? We want to witness the amazing effect of the beauty cream with our own eyes. These words were not some crafty plot. Instead, they were done on purpose. It was because most of the women did not see the effects of the beauty cream at the treasure-gathering site yesterday. I've only heard of it. Therefore, most of the women wanted to witness the effects of the beauty cream with their own eyes. The woman who had received the beauty cream had a look of terror on her face. She looked left and right at the frenzied women surrounding her, and she subconsciously wanted to turn around and flee the auction. He was surrounded by a group of women. He forced her to use the beauty cream in front of everyone. Chapter 3671. This scene was seen clearly by Yiqing Luo, who was sitting on the second floor. Her lips curled up as her long and narrow eyes squinted as she looked at the lady who was surrounded by everyone. She couldn't help but laugh softly. She probably doesn't know that once a woman goes crazy, it's very scary. Zhu Wuxian glanced at the direction of the second floor indifferently as his gaze shifted back to Yiqing Luo's face. His emotions were very indifferent as his voice was deep and calm. The her you are talking about should be referring to, not that lady who successfully bid for it, right? Yiqing Luo raised her brows. You can tell? Very obvious. Zhu Wuxian replied calmly. That lady is not the one who really bid for the beauty cream. If the beauty cream was really bid for by that lady, under so many envious gazes from so many ladies, any woman would have an involuntary sense of arrogance. In the auction, there was no need to worry about any safety issues. She could totally show off the beauty bomb that she had won in the auction to everyone. But that lady's face didn't reveal any arrogance or complacency. There was only fear and uneasiness. Zhu Wuxian continued, the one who really bid for the beauty cream should be that mysterious maiden. You can guess it? Yiqing Luo was astonished. Are you sure that you just came to Without Embroiling City today? The news of your bet with that Without Embroiling City's mysterious maiden has already spread like wildfire. It's hard for me not to know about it. Zhu Wuxian's voice was very indifferent, but it was rare for him to say such a long sentence in one breath. Yiqing Luo didn't know if she believed him or had no interest to continue this topic. She propped her chin as she lazily leaned against the back of the chair and laughed lightly. Xiao Yulu will not be willing to lose to me, even if it's because of that face of hers. She will not be willing. Speaking of this, her voice paused slightly. Her lips suddenly curled into a cold arc. She dared to bid for my beauty cream at a high price. That's enough to show that she has the confidence to take out something that can compete with the beauty cream. Xiao Yulu wanted the beauty cream. But she would absolutely not spend a huge sum to bid for it herself. She would absolutely not want to personally push the treasure gathering to the best trading house position. So, either Xiao Yulu wanted to snatch a few bottles of beauty cream first and control the bidding amount, then think of a way to let the trading house surpass the treasure gathering. Either Xiao Yulu was absolutely confident that she could surpass her. Yiqing Luo slowly narrowed her long and narrow eyes as a glint flashed past her eyes. Her curiosity was piqued. Yesterday Xiao Yulu was still flustered and exasperated. Why was he so confident today? Last night, after hearing her opinion, Xiao Yinyan would probably keep a close eye on Xiao Yulu. If Xiao Yulu contacted the black-robed men who had set up the soul-devouring formation again, those secret guards who were secretly observing Xiao Yulu would definitely notice something unusual. If it wasn't for those men in black that gave Xiao Yulu so much confidence, Xiao Yulu wouldn't have been so confident. Then where did Xiao Yulu's confidence come from? Do you need my help to investigate? Zhu Wuxian seemed to have seen through Yiqing Luo's thoughts as he asked calmly. Yiqing Luo raised her head slightly, her fair fingers brushed across her smooth chin. She smiled and tilted her head. If you help me investigate, won't I owe you another favor? If you want to return it, then accompany me for a period of time after the auction ends. Zhu Wuxian's gaze was deep as he stared at her. Chapter 3672. The faint smile on Zhu Wuxian's lips turned slightly stiff. The lines on his face turned cold and hard. His pupils turned deep and dark. What you want to do is to look for the overlord, right? Yiqing Luo nodded calmly. Yes, after the auction ends I will immediately look for him. So it was impossible for her to use the method of repaying the favor to stay by Zhu Wuxian's side. Most importantly, she could not always use this method to repay the so-called favor. this method of repayment. On the contrary, it would make Zhu Wuxian have other ideas. The reason why she agreed to stay in Zhu Wuxian's cabin during the auction. Indeed, there was a little bit of heartache and complicated emotions towards Zhu Wuxian. But it was absolutely not for the so-called repayment of the favor. Zhu Wuxian's sudden appearance in the Earth boundary. He appeared with the identity of the mysterious powerhouse Red Clear Pavilion which was above the Earth boundary. Yiqing Luo was very curious about what was Zhu Wuxian's motive. Although Zhu Wuxian said that he no longer had any collaboration with the Nether Palace. But after all, Zhu Wuxian had once collaborated with the Nether Palace. The Nether Palace would not let go of Zhu Wuxian's help so easily. Yiqing Luo felt that Zhu Wuxian's appearance in the Earth boundary was absolutely not as simple as just for her. As expected, Zhu Wuxian's eyes sunk. He shifted his gaze slightly as he shot towards the auction grounds below. Yiqing Luo could sense that the imposing manner on him had become much more suppressed. Suddenly, a burst of exclamations rang in the auction grounds. Those ladies who were originally crowding around the lady who had successfully bid for the beauty ointment frantically rushed back to their own seats, only to hear the ladies shouting out their bids. The entire auction became bustling again. So, the second bottle of beauty ointment had appeared. That lady who was originally surrounded heaved a sigh of relief. Both her hands clutched the beauty ointment bottle tightly as she dashed out of the auction. At this moment, everyone was bidding crazily. None of the major forces and families in the other main cities were willing to give up and shout out a price. But moments later, that beauty ointment had already surpassed the price of the first bottle. This rising trend made the other trading houses dumbstruck. After that, what made everyone even more astonished was the other beautifying creams that were placed on the table were each more expensive than the last. It was as if those women weren't giving him crystals, but were just casually shouting out numbers. Originally, there were quite a number of women who thought that Yi Zichen was a woman. Now the price was so high. There would definitely be a lot of people who wouldn't have enough crystal stones to bid in the end. The beautifying cream later on would definitely be cheaper. However, when the 8th bottle of beauty ointment was sold at the price of 6 million crystal stones, the women began to panic. Especially the last bottle of beauty cream. Almost all the women went crazy. The women had indeed gone mad. The people in charge of the other trading houses all looked at the women who were screaming their lungs out as if they were crazy. What kind of stimulation did these girls suffer? Even if the beautifying cream really had the miraculous effect of making an ugly woman beautiful. Even so, there was no need to be so crazy, right? Spending so many crystal stones on a bottle of ointment? It would be better to buy more pills to increase his strength. Wasn't it said that the strong were respected and that strength was supreme? Was a face that important? At the same time, in a private room on the 2nd floor. Chapter 3673. The leader of Zhongqing trading firm stood behind Xiao Yulu with a pale face. Beads of cold sweat rolled down his head. Even the back of his black brocade robe was soaked by a pool of water. When he heard someone shout, 100 million crystal stones from below, he could not help but laugh. His entire body was trembling. Princess Yulu. Princess Yulu, you really can't shout anymore. He tried to persuade her with a trembling voice. The beauty ointment is something from treasure gathering. We are already close to 400 million crystals away from treasure gathering. Most importantly, this 400 million difference. Furthermore, this gap was created by their Princess Yulu. The leader really couldn't understand. Why did Princess Yulu insist on getting all 10 bottles of beauty ointment? Could it be that Princess Yulu had forgotten about her bet with treasure gathering? Did Princess Yulu not care about the consequences of losing the bet? Will the gap shrink if I don't continue to shout? Xiao Yulu looked at the leader coldly, her eyes full of killing intent. The leader's legs turned to jelly. I didn't mean that, but, the leader really wanted to say. If she didn't insist on bidding for the beauty ointment, the price of the beauty ointment would definitely not be so many times higher. However, the leader didn't dare to say that. He could only hold back his tears and said with a trembling voice, We don't have enough crystals. If we continue to bid, we might not be able to take out so many crystals. If you don't have them, go to other trading firms to get them. In short, I want all these beauty ointment. Xiao Yulu's fingers were on the table. Her sharp fingernails left streaks of marks on the surface of the table. The leader's face was pale. On one side he was worried, but on the other side he was so happy that he almost screamed out loud. Pei Sheng couldn't believe that the beauty ointment would be auctioned off at such a high price. Now their treasure-gathering trading firm was sitting on the throne of the highest number of bids. Brother Qiao, am I dreaming? Hearing the bid of 100 million crystal stones, Yang Kai felt a chill run down his spine. Pei Xing had already gone crazy. He clenched his fists, unable to believe his eyes and ears. But when he turned around, he saw Qiao Yinyan's serious expression. The agitation on his face eased a little. He pursed his lips and sat beside Qiao Yinyan. Brother Qiao, are you still worried about Aluo? Qiao Yinyan looked up and glanced at him before lowering his eyes again. Brother Qiao. Pei Xing sensed that Qiao Yinyan's expression was very grave, and he started to panic. I'm not worried about Aluo, Qiao Yinyan said indifferently. Then why did you? His face was heavy as if something big was about to happen. Of course, Pei Xing didn't ask the rest of the question. Qiao Yinyan placed his hands on the railing and leaned over to look at the crazy scene on the first floor. He frowned slightly and said, I have a very uneasy feeling. What? Pei Xing asked. Qiao Yinyan shook his head. The beauty ointment auction went too smoothly, so smoothly that I can't help but overthink. He lowered his head slightly and his eyes darkened. There was a bottomless whirlpool in his eyes. Yiqing Luo and Chu Wu Xiang could tell the problem. Qiao Yinyan naturally could tell as well. The ladies who had successfully bid for the beauty ointment one after another weren't the ones who had bid for it. After they bid for it, who would they bring the beauty ointment to? Qiao Yinyan guessed correctly. Outsiders didn't know that Xiao Yulu's looks were ruined. Chapter 3674. So Xiao Yulu had a huge need for the beauty cream. So these beauty cream, on the surface, were successfully auctioned by those ladies. In actual fact, these beauty cream would eventually end up in Xiao Yulu's hands. Now the amount of treasure gatherings transaction had obviously exceeded Zhong Cheng's by over 10 times. For her own face, Xiao Yulu really didn't care about the bet with Yiqing Luo? No. Qiao Yinyan instantly rejected this thought. With Xiao Yulu's arrogance, she would absolutely not ignore the bet. There was no way she would embarrass herself as the Empyrean fairy in public. Qiao Yinyan felt that Xiao Yulu might still have some tricks up her sleeves. This move to treasure gathering or Yiqing Luo? What consequences would it cause? The more he thought about it, the more uneasy Qiao Yinyan felt. Zhu Wu Xian's cabin. Yiqing Luo yawned as she stretched herself. Looks like the auction is about to end. This is the last bottle of beauty cream. Zhu Wu Xian's voice was calm. Will you wait for the final result before leaving this place? Wait, of course I will wait. Yiqing Luo's brows rose slightly as she glanced sideways at Zhu Wu Xian. I still have a bet with Xiao Yulu. Before the result is out, she might not let me leave. The corners of Zhu Wuxin's mouth twitched slightly as he smiled. From your tone, do you think that you won't be able to win the bet with her this time? She hasn't released her big move, so I can't judge it easily. Yiqing Luo shrugged. Zhu Wu Xian, big move? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes as her fingers caressed the ring on her fingertip. Of course. I'm also waiting for her big move to arrive. She laughed softly. Her gaze shot towards the auction house below. The radiance and deep meaning flowing in her eyes was extremely obvious. She shifted her gaze away. He ignored Chu Wuxin's slightly cold expression beside him. That pair of dull dark eyes revealed a biting cold murderous intent. While the two of them were conversing, the last bottle of beauty cream was successfully auctioned at the price of 123 million crystals. Everyone was shocked. All of their gazes towards Treasure Gathering's cabin had changed. Almost everyone was certain of it. The auction fair this time, Treasure Gathering Assembly took the top spot. This was beyond doubt. Who would have thought that Treasure Gathering would be at the bottom for 4 consecutive years? After climbing up a tall branch, there would be such earth-shattering changes. Everyone was both envious and jealous. This was simply a heaven-defying reversal. Just when everyone was envious of the treasures trading firm and felt sorry for the Zhongcheng trading firm, the auctioneer's voice became extremely excited. Next up, it's time for the last auction item. A good auctioneer's emotions could move people's hearts. When the auctioneer's passionate and excited voice rang out, most people's attention was drawn there. Even during the bidding for the beautifying cream, the auctioneer had never been so excited. Everyone was naturally very curious. What exactly was the finale item of the auction? There was a hubbub of voices and endless discussions. The auctioneer raised the hammer in his hand high up. This is the last auction item. It is the auction item from Zhongcheng Exchange, which has been the best trading house in the land domain for 4 consecutive years. After the auctioneer finished speaking, It instantly caused an uproar in the surroundings. According to the rules, in the auction, every auction item which came from which trading firm was a secret. As the auction's resident auctioneer, how could he possibly not know this rule? Chapter 3675. This meant that the auctioneer was obviously from Zhongqing Trading Hall. No, to put it more accurately, it was Qiao Yulu's people. Yiqing Luo was also stunned by the auctioneer's actions. Her half-squinted eyes were filled with a faintly discernible sense of ridicule. Her pink lips curled into a smile which didn't look like a smile. The auctioneer's risky actions. Apparently he had obtained City Lord Lu, or the Executive Elder, Hallmaster etc. support. Otherwise the auctioneer absolutely wouldn't be so daring. As expected, Qiao Yulu was secretly accumulating her strength for a big move. Yiqing Luo was also very curious about what was the last item to be traded in Zhongqing Trading Hall. Angry? Zhu Wuxen looked at Yiqing Luo's expression as he said calmly, "Those who don't know the rules can disappear from this world." Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at him. "Why should I be angry?" She raised her finger and caressed her lower jaw as she laughed lightly. As everyone knows, the beautifying ointment is the item that the Treasures Trading Hall is participating in the auction. Now, the auctioneer has revealed the name of Zhongqing Trading Hall, so it's very fair. Chu Wuxian's gaze was calm and so was his tone, "But I'm angry." Yiqing Luo turned her head over as she looked at him in puzzlement. Chu Wuxian met her eyes as he said word by word, "I'm very angry that someone bullied you in front of me." Yiqing Luo? Zhu Wuxian's flirting skills were getting smoother and smoother. Words of love could actually be said so smoothly? Yiqing Luo continued to roll her eyes at him as she shifted her gaze away. "Just watch the show properly, don't interfere." Zhu Wuxian's thin lips pursed tightly as the lines on his face gradually turned cold and hard. In the auction hall, facing the various discussions below the stage, the auctioneer turned a deaf ear to it. His tone was agitated as he continued excitedly, "I believe that once this auction item is brought out, it will absolutely make everyone scream until they lose their voices." Suddenly, he slammed the hammer heavily onto the table. "Everyone open your eyes wide now. Bring the last auction item up to the auction stage." Following the auctioneer's words, two sturdy bodyguards carried an item which was covered with black satin as they walked up the auction stage. The bodyguards carefully placed the item down. Then he lifted the table off the stage. The thing covered in black satin was fully displayed in front of everyone's eyes. The auctioneer's eyes were filled with fanaticism as he looked at the item. He slowly walked to the front of the satin, pulled a corner of the black satin, and shouted enthusiastically, "Now it's time to witness a miracle." The auctioneer used some force to remove the silk. It was a rectangular, tightly closed wooden box. The exterior of the box was engraved with extremely complicated patterns and totems. It looked very solemn. Just by looking at the outer appearance of the wooden box, everyone felt a heavy pressure in their hearts. The auctioneer was almost kneeling on the ground. His hands were almost worshipping as he traced the outline of the wooden chest through the air. The crazed look in his eyes, it didn't seem like he was faking it. The auctioneer's expression piqued the crowd's interest in the items in the wooden boxes. "What do you think is in that box?" Yiqing Luo raised her brows and asked. Zhu Wuxin stared at the box, his expression changing slightly. "I can't sense it, but I feel that it's not something good." Chapter 3676. Keeping people in suspense was also very particular. The auctioneer was able to stay in the auction for a long time. Naturally, he had his unique skills. After attracting everyone's curiosity, the auctioneer opened the wooden box with a crazy expression at the most appropriate time. Everyone stretched their necks and looked at the thing in the wooden box. After the wooden chest was opened, there was no dazzling golden light or dazzling golden light. Everyone could clearly see that in the wooden box there was a huge, oval, white egg. That's right, it was an egg. Everyone was a little confused. There were thousands of thoughts in their minds and a lot of guesses. But they did not expect that in the wooden box there was a white egg. Why was the auctioneer so excited about an egg? This egg, what kind of egg was it? Everyone's heart was full of doubts and puzzlement. The auctioneer's eyes were full of obsession, staring closely at the huge white egg in the wooden box, saying word by word, "That's right, you're not wrong, this is an egg." "But do you know what kind of egg this is?" Looking at everyone's puzzled expression, and the way they shook their heads and answered, "No," the auctioneer suddenly laughed. Eggs are usually the continuation of life. This egg is the mother beast giving birth to a young beast. What beast is it? So mysterious? It looks like it should be a beast egg above the level of a phantom beast? Master Auctioneer, don't keep us guessing, what kind of beast egg is that? Everyone's interest was also aroused and they asked aloud. The auctioneer laughed and spread out his hands, his voice excited and inspiring. This is a dragon egg. Dragon? Did I hear that right? Dragon egg? Master Auctioneer, you said, this is a dragon egg? Don't tell me inside that egg is a young dragon. No, it can't be. Dragon egg? How could there be a dragon egg here? Whether it was in the Nirvana realm or the Earth realm. For dragons, in the ears of everyone, they were all myths. The dragon race was indeed too rare. And dragons also represented the absolute symbol of noble status. This was actually a dragon egg? Didn't that mean, if anyone could slap this dragon egg back, they would be able to do so? After the young dragon was born, whoever would be able to form a contract with this young dragon, and then become the master of the dragon. Everyone's hearts were boiling with excitement. Each and every one of them stared at the giant white egg with the same fanaticism as the auctioneer. When Yiqing Luo heard the auctioneer's words, she couldn't help but raise her slender brows. Interested? Zhu Wuxian was extremely attentive towards the changes in Yiqing Luo's expression. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. Look at me, do I look like someone who would be interested in other dragons? No one had ever seen a dragon before. But not only did he become brothers with the humanoid dragon, he had also formed a contract with the head of the 4 great divine beasts, the Azure Dragon, which was also the leader of the dragons, the dragon ancestor. There was also a pet that was half dragon and half leopard. For the other dragons, she did not feel that kind of surprise at all. Zhu Wuxin said indifferently, it's a little strange that the Sincerity Trading House can take out a dragon egg. I have imagined many rare treasures, but I never thought that Zhongcheng's ultimate move would be a dragon egg. Yiqing Luo sighed helplessly. From everyone's expressions, it's obvious that they are extremely interested in the dragon egg. How could he not be interested? Who didn't want to contract a dragon as their battle pet? To be able to tame a dragon. That wasn't just in terms of ability, it would be of great help and upgrade to oneself. Chapter 3677. His battle pet was a dragon. Wouldn't he look good if he said it out? If you don't want Zhongcheng to win, I can destroy that dragon egg. Zhu Wuxian raised his hand as he placed it in front of Yiqing Luo. He didn't touch Yiqing Luo's face. Only through the air he gently traced Yiqing Luo's brows. His voice was very calm and there was no deeper meaning in his words. You're wrinkled here. It doesn't look good. I don't like it. Yiqing Luo, again. When did this iceberg man become so understanding? He even knew how to imitate the way the auctioneer caressed the dragon egg and caressed her from afar. Although it was not touched by Zhu Wuxin. But Yiqing Luo's heart still had a creepy feeling. She rubbed her arms and took a few steps back. Don't mess around. Who doesn't know that you and I are in cahoots? If you destroy the dragon egg, isn't that telling everyone that I'm doing this for the sake of winning the bet? Just as Yiqing Luo retreated, Zhu Wuxin also withdrew his hand. He lightly said, I just don't want to see you unhappy. Watch the show, don't stare at me. Yiqing Luo raised her hand and blocked his gaze. Then he turned his gaze back to the dragon egg. Xiaoyulu has put in a lot of effort to prepare such a great show. If I don't take a good look, I'll be letting her down. Down below, everyone went crazy because of the dragon egg. This kind of crazy energy. It was exactly the same as the beautifying cream he had just seen. Many people from other factions were secretly rejoicing that their wives and daughters had failed to win the facial beautifying cream. Otherwise, how would they have any crystals left to bid for the dragon eggs? Compared to the dragon egg, what kind of beauty ointment was trash? Seeing the enthusiasm of the crowd, the auctioneer smiled more confidently. He raised the hammer in his hand again, spread out one hand, pointed at the dragon egg and said, Now the auction for the dragon egg will begin. The starting price is 100 million spar, and each increment must be no less than 10 million spar. I hereby announce that the bidding begins now. 100 million crystals? And not less than 10 million crystals each time? This was probably the first time in the history of the auction that an item had such a high base price. It had simply set a record for the lowest bid in an auction. But this base price did not extinguish the enthusiasm of the crowd. On the contrary, it made everyone even more excited. After all, this was a dragon egg. Do you know what a dragon egg is? It would be a divine beast the moment it was born. Just a breath of air could cause 3 tremors. The higher the base price, the more it could prove the authenticity of this dragon egg. When the auctioneer finished speaking, Someone had already begun to bid crazily. 101 million spar. 150 million spar. The bidding trend was no less than that of the beautifying ointment earlier. No, it was even worse. This bid was much crazier than the beautifying cream. The highest bid for a bottle of beautifying ointment was more than 100 million crystal stones. As for this dragon egg, it was worth 100 million, 100 million. 200 million spar. I bid 250 million. 300 million. This bid was going straight up. In the end, only the representatives of the major forces were left, and they refused to give way to each other. When the price of the dragon egg had already reached 400 million crystal stones, the people on treasure-gathering side were all panicking. Pei Xing stood rooted to the ground, and his face was filled with disbelief. Chapter 3678. Bam! A loud sound was heard and the table in the private room shattered into pieces. Old Lai's face was filled with anger as he rolled up his sleeves. I'm going to smash that dragon egg. He was aggressive and was about to leap over the railing to the first floor to stir up trouble. Xianxia reacted quickly and immediately pulled Old Lai back. Senior, don't be rash. I'm calmer than ever. Old Lai glared at him. Xianxia didn't let go. Senior, if you smash that dragon egg, do you think everyone will push the blame to the Hell Palace or Aluo? Old Lai's figure suddenly stiffened. Public opinion. Of course they would push it to Yiqing Luo. No one dared to blame the Hell Palace. They would only feel that his actions were all instigated by Yiqing Luo. If he really destroyed the dragon egg, the one who would bear the consequences would be Yiqing Luo. Old Lai clenched his fists tightly as he endured his impulse and gritted his teeth. Then, what should we do now? A lousy dragon egg had actually soared to such a high amount, plus the auction items in the middle city's exchange hall. It was only a matter of time before it surpassed the total amount of the treasure. Wait and see. Xianxia couldn't think of any other way. The auction for the dragon egg had already started. Destroying the dragon egg, stopping the auction and so on were all unrealistic. Wait for the amount over at Zhongqing to exceed the treasure? Old Lai was furious. You're the eldest young master of the Qiao family, don't you know anything about Zhongqing having a dragon egg? Xianxia's face suddenly darkened. He pursed his lips tightly as he shook his head. Looking at Zhongqing's exchange hall, when they brought out the dragon egg as the last auction item, he was also very shocked. Not only him. Even Patriarch Qiao would feel surprised. Qiao Yulu was able to quietly hide it from everyone and bring the dragon egg to the auction. How on earth did she do it? Based on Qiao Yulu's character, if she had the dragon egg, she would absolutely not allow Yiqing Luo to suppress her. She would definitely bring out the dragon egg to suppress the beauty cream's limelight. But Qiao Yulu didn't make a sound. Did Qiao Yulu look like someone who would keep her grievances in her stomach? Xianxia's heart grew heavier. He felt that many things were starting to get out of his control. In Zhu Wuxin's private room, there's still a gap of about 200 million crystals. Zhu Wuxin looked at Yiqing Luo as his lips curled into a faint smile. According to this trend, it's only a matter of time before Zhongqing surpasses Congregate Bao. Yiqing Luo propped up her chin and raised her long and narrow eyebrows. From your tone, it seems like you have a way to solve the problem? There is indeed a way. Zhu Wuxin met her eyes. I will bid for the dragon egg. Chapter 3679. Yiqing Luo's eyes gradually deepened, appearing extremely serene. But in Without Embroiling City, he had lost his integrity as a businessman. Yiqing Luo retracted her gaze, the radiance in her eyes was suffused with a faint brilliance. I can't possibly leave such a mess for him to clean up, he is a very good businessman. Zhu Wuxin didn't shift his gaze because she shifted her gaze. His eyes were fixed on Yiqing Luo's face. He took in Yiqing Luo's expression and the flickering in her eyes. He gave a low laugh, his voice was magnetic and very alluring. It's indeed you. As long as you are willing to treat someone sincerely, you will think for the other party. Yiqing Luo didn't reply him. However, Zhu Wuxin merely chuckled to himself. You agreed to accompany me during the auction because you have already acknowledged me as a friend in your heart, right? He was laughing. But his tone revealed a trace of self-ridicule. Are you feeling heartache for me or feeling guilty towards me towards your feelings? Yiqing Luo's eyelashes trembled slightly. Her eyelids drooped slightly, her pink lips moved as though she wanted to say something. But in the end she still didn't say anything. Between the two of them, it fell into silence again. Below, in the auction hall, the enthusiasm was soaring, the shouting of prices was still rising. The auctioneer continued to drive the rhythm, bringing the rhythm of the bidding to a new height. At this moment, the price of the dragon egg had already reached 400 million crystals. 400 million crystals. To a large powerhouse, it was already very strenuous. And now, those who were still participating in the auction were only those few large powerhouses from various main cities. Even City Lord Lu, as well as the representatives from the other two main cities, also participated in the auction. But 400 million crystals, if they really took out so many crystals at one go. To their current powerhouse's development, it would definitely have an impact. And they still had to go to the second division's forces to raise money. It was very easy to shake the powerhouse's foundations. But the various powerhouses' representatives had another thought. To be able to obtain a dragon egg to hatch a dragon battle pet which belonged to them. It would definitely be able to let their own powerhouses to go up another level. By then, the other powerhouses of the same level would have to give face to the dragon battle pet and take a step back. Thinking like this, no matter how much their hearts ached, there were still a few representatives who raised their bidding cards with trembling hands. After a series of exchanges, at the later stages, the increase in price was getting smaller and smaller. In the end, only 5 forces were left and they were still struggling. This dragon egg was auctioned off for a sky-high price. The gap between Zhong Cheng and Zhu Bao's total amount was also getting closer and closer. The forces that had given up on bidding were also filled with anxiety. They were guessing who could obtain this dragon egg. There were also many people who looked at the private room of the treasure-gathering hall and sighed regretfully. No one had expected this. In the end, the Zhongqing trading house would bring out such a dragon egg, which directly suppressed the heat of the beauty cream. Dragon egg. Once it hatched, that was a genuine mythological beast. It could fight, assist, and even act as a mount. Who gets this dragon egg? In the future, there would be changes in the powers of the 3 main cities. Until the price of the dragon egg reached 500 million crystal stones. The difference between the 2 trading houses had already shrunk to a negligible amount. All of a sudden, the atmosphere of the auction became heavy. Chapter 3680. It was also because they were anxious about who would get the best honor in the auction. At least 80% of the people had bet a huge amount of crystals on the bet between Mysterious Fairy and Di Luo. They were all waiting quietly for the final result. By now, the people who were bidding were only Shadowless City's number 1 family's representative, City Lord Lu, and Yenless City's City Lord's forces who were still struggling. The bidding speed of the 3 parties had clearly slowed down. They were all carefully testing each other's bottom line. Just at this moment, the auctioneer suddenly raised his voice. Those forces who still want to participate in the dragon egg auction must be sincere in bidding for the dragon egg. I'll make the decision here. Those who want to continue bidding can come to the front and observe the dragon egg up close. Up close. Being in close contact with the dragon egg? These words made the crowd cry out in shock. Those 3 forces who were originally in a dilemma about whether to continue bidding or not, their hearts started to churn again. There were also a few people who had given up on bidding and they also stood up. About 6 people approached the auction stage. When Yiqing Luo saw this, her slender brows rose as she was slightly astonished. That auctioneer. I feel that something's not right. Previously he disregarded the auction's regulations and directly stated that the dragon egg was Zhongqing Exchange's auction item. Now he made his own decision to let the bidders go up close to the auction stage to observe the auction item? This didn't conform to the auction's regulations, right? But no matter if it was the executive elder or the hall master, no one spoke out to stop him. Looking at those people as they neared the auction stage, Yiqing Luo's heart unknowingly surged with a strange feeling. Inexplicable uneasiness. In order to bid for the dragon egg to be auctioned at a higher price, to let the bidders be in close contact, it will amplify their desire for the dragon egg. Chu Wuxian didn't find it strange at all. Yiqing Luo shook her head. No. She felt something was amiss. But she couldn't tell what was wrong. Just like this, those 6 forces representatives walked up to the auction stage. Both their eyes stared intently at that huge white dragon egg in the wooden box. Someone wanted to stretch out his hand to touch it. But the auctioneer grabbed his wrist. You can observe, but you absolutely cannot touch it. This dragon egg is about to hatch. If you touch it and cause the dragon egg to crack prematurely, that would be bad. The auctioneer's words sounded like persuasion. However, the representatives' eyes lit up when they heard this. The 6 of them surrounded the wooden box and squatted down. His eyes were fixed on the giant egg, as if he wanted to see through the eggshell to see the divine dragon beast hidden within the giant egg. "I'll add 10 million spar." A representative raised his hand, clenched his teeth and shouted. The dragon egg was about to hatch. They had to quickly auction off the dragon egg. Only then could he form a contract with the young dragon the moment the dragon egg hatched. Otherwise, once the dragon egg hatched, it would possess the strength of a dragon. It would be troublesome for them to form a contract with it. The people from the other forces had obviously thought of this as well. Hearing the increase in price, he immediately followed up. Another round of fierce fighting ensued. In the eyes of the crowd, the auctioneer let several bidders run to the auction stage. It was to entice them to continue bidding. But the more Yiqing Luo looked, the more flustered she felt. Her eyebrows tightly knit together. The restlessness in his heart grew stronger and stronger. Crack. Chapter 3681. Yiqing Luo's brows moved as she glanced sideways at Zhu Wuxia. "Did you hear something?" "What?" Zhu Wuxia turned his head to look at her, not understanding the meaning of her words. This expression meant that he didn't hear anything. Strange, under such a clamorous atmosphere. Why did she seem to have heard the sound of something cracking? Surveying the surroundings, it seemed as though no one else had heard that cracking sound. What was that sound? Yiqing Luo's heart, because of that subtle sound, became even more apprehensive and uneasy. Something's not right. I sensed a gush of intense qi. In her mind, old man Song's panicky and solemn voice rang. Yiqing Luo's breathing froze slightly. It seemed that the inexplicable feeling that had welled up in her heart was not an illusion. But really, something big was about to happen. Yiqing Luo's slender fingers clenched tightly. Where did that sound come from? What was it that made her feel uneasy and had a bad premonition? What was it? Suddenly, she seemed to have thought of something as she abruptly raised her head and looked straight at the auction stage. If she didn't remember wrongly, it seemed to be when the auctioneer invited the bidders to observe the dragon egg from a close distance. Her heart seemed to have foreseen some danger as a strange feeling started to spread, which meant to say, the problem was on the auction stage. What's the matter? Zhu Wuxia noticed the change in Yiqing Luo's emotions as well as her entire aura had turned severe. What happened? Something happened. Yiqing Luo pursed her pink lips as she replied with 3 words. Her gaze swept past the auction stage inch by inch. Just when she saw a spot, her pupils suddenly constricted. Oh no. Yiqing Luo's eyes widened as she looked at that spot in disbelief. Immediately after, without waiting for Zhu Wuxia to ask, she had already stood up and with a leap, she stepped onto the railing. Leaping down from the 2nd floor, she rushed towards the auction stage. Quickly move aside. That's not a dragon egg. Following Yiqing Luo's words, a cracked sound was heard. In the wooden box, that huge white egg suddenly cracked into pieces of eggshell. Then, a dragon head the size of a fist poked out from the top of the eggshell. The dragon's head was white, and the dragon horns on its head were like white jade, sparkling and translucent. It looked small and cute. Dragon. The dragon has hatched. Hurry, let the dragon see me. Beasts are very reliant on the first person they see. The young dragon is born. Quick, snatch the young dragons. When the dragon head entered everyone's sight, everyone went crazy. Even the episode where Yiqing Luo suddenly rushed out and shouted, "That's not a dragon egg," was all thrown to the back of his head. One by one, they swarmed towards the dragon egg. Yiqing Luo's heart sank as she spoke out once again, "Don't go over, that's not a dragon." However, the frenzied crowd totally didn't listen to Yiqing Luo's words. He just wanted to rush to the front and be the first person the young dragon saw when it opened its eyes. As long as he was acknowledged by the young dragon. I don't care what price you bid. Now that the dragon whelp had acknowledged him, no one could snatch it away. Everyone had overlooked. That auctioneer who was originally standing on the auction stage had no intention to stop everyone. Instead, he silently disappeared in front of everyone's eyes. Whereas, in the midst of the crowd, that dragon head poked out as it slowly opened its eyes. Chapter 3682. Behind him, someone was tearing at his body. Because of this, the wooden box kept shaking. The oval-shaped, half-broken dragon egg was swaying back and forth. The white dragon's head was also swaying back and forth. Just as the fingers of the city lord of Yen City were about to be torn off, the white dragon suddenly opened its eyes. At first glance, it met the eyes of the city lord of Yen City. The people of Yama Free City's city lord faction were so ecstatic that they almost screamed out loud. When the white dragon opened its eyes, the rest of the people rushed over in a frenzy. In the madness. Yet no one noticed it. The dragon's entire body was snow white, but when it opened its eyes they were as black as ink. Black and gloomy. It was so dark that not even a trace of reflection could be seen in those eyes. There was only endless darkness. The city lord of Yen City threw himself to the side of the wooden box in joy. The first thing it saw was me. Was me. None of you should fight for it. As he spoke, he reached out to the dragon egg. He saw the dragon's dark eyes staring at him. The city lord of Yen City was so excited that his palms were sweating. The people around him were still pushing and shoving. It was at this moment, when the city lord of Yen City's hand touched the white dragon's head, the white dragon suddenly opened its mouth and bit down on that person's hand. That person did not dodge. Instead, he was overjoyed. This was the beast race's contract method. However, in the next moment, that person's expression changed. He wanted to shake off the white dragon in fear. However, before he could make any reaction, Yi Zichen, his entire person seemed to have aged in an instant. In the blink of an eye, only a set of clothes was left, fluttering to the ground. This scene caused the surrounding crowd to be stunned for a few breaths of time. What's going on? Where's the city lord of Yen City's representative? I was just grabbing him. Why did he suddenly? His clothes? These are his clothes? An unknown fear surged in everyone's heart. His excitement over the appearance of the young dragon slowly faded away as well. They did not have a chance to rest or search for answers. They did not have to look for him. Because, in the next instant, the answer to the disappearance of the representative of the city lord of No Yen City appeared on its own. While everyone was still in shock. The white dragon had left the eggshell at some point in time. The fist-sized dragon-shaped body looked very cute. But what it was doing was shocking. Ah, help! This dragon! Screams of pain resounded in the auction hall one after another. The white dragon quickly swam among the crowd. Whenever it saw someone, it would open its mouth and bite them. In just a few breaths, the person who was bitten was only left with a piece of clothing. The scariest thing was, when the white dragon bit a person, its body would gradually grow bigger. He watched as pieces of clothes fell to the ground. How could everyone not understand what was going on? That white dragon was a monster. A man-eating monster. Everyone frantically ran towards the entrance of the auction. Yi Qingluo's brows creased tightly as she looked at the chaotic scene in front of her. Her line of sight quickly wandered around the surroundings. Finally, she locked onto a corner where 4 figures were trying to leave quietly. Yi Qingluo's brows creased as she speedily flew away. Chapter 3683. The executive elder's expression changed slightly. The expressions of the 2 hall masters darkened. Hall Master Lu was infuriated when he saw Yi Qingluo. If we don't leave, don't tell me we're waiting to be eaten by that monster? Aren't you the guards of the auction? Now that something has happened, you want to be the first to run? Yi Qingluo raised her brows as she teased them. The 2 hall masters exchanged glances. Hall Master Ji coughed softly. We're just going to mobilize our men. We have to seal off the auction to prevent the monster from escaping and causing panic. Really? Yi Qingluo curled her lips into a smile which didn't look like a smile, with an obvious look of disbelief. Hall Master Ji coughed again. Of course it's true. Yi Qingluo looked at her with a smile which didn't look like a smile. Then he put down his hand and moved away. Hall Master Ji? You're letting them leave just like that? Hall Master Ji and Hall Master Lu didn't have time to think about it. Looking at the chaos in the field, more and more clothes fell to the ground. They were no longer in the mood to investigate further. Directly bypassing Yi Qingluo, he ran towards the door. Seeing this, the executive elder also wanted to chase after him. Yi Qingluo smiled as she stretched out her hand to stop the both of them. They are going to mobilize their manpower, the both of you. Where are you going? The executive elder's expression froze. We are also going. You're going to mobilize people too? Wasn't the executive elder supposed to enforce the rules of the auction? Who's the person behind you? Yi Qingluo blinked her long eyelashes, pretending to be puzzled as she asked. Executive elder's face sunk as he was unable to reply Yi Qingluo's words. They might as well struggle free from Yi Qingluo's hands and couldn't be bothered to reply as they dashed towards the main entrance of the auction. However, he heard the young girl's mocking laughter behind him. Do you really think that you can really leave the auction venue? The executive elder stopped in his tracks. What does that mean? What do you mean, could they leave the auction? The executive elder suddenly raised his head and looked in the direction of the door. The two hall masters rushed out of the main gate at full speed. But, in the next instant, the two of them reappeared in their line of sight. The two of them were obviously very surprised, and their expressions became extremely ugly. They clasped their hands tightly together and walked towards the crowded door again. However, they still returned to the auction venue. This scene stunned the executive elder as well. Their expressions congealed tightly, as though they had thought of something, as all of them abruptly turned around and looked at Yiqing Luo. Do you know something? The girl leaned her shoulder against the wall, her veil fluttering in the wind, outlining a perfect curve. A pair of long and narrow eyes, languid and satisfied. He didn't look like he was in danger at all. Executive elders exchanged glances as they took quick steps towards Yiqing Luo. Earlier, before the dragon egg had cracked open, you shouted that it wasn't a dragon egg, that wasn't a dragon. Do you know what is that thing? Yiqing Luo's expression changed slightly. Another elder asked, "What's going on? Why can't we leave the auction?" One could tell just by looking at the two hall masters. Trying to escape through the gate. After passing through the gate, he returned to the auction venue. It was like a ghost hitting a wall. Executive elder recalled the relationship between Yiqing Luo and Red Clear Pavilion as his expression turned grave. Did the pavilion master of Red Clear Pavilion tell you something? Chapter 3684. Miss D, this matter is extremely serious. If we don't settle this as soon as possible, the entire auction, no, to put it more accurately, everyone in the auction will be locked here. When the executive elder was saying this, his face turned extremely pale. Yiqing Luo nodded. Looks like you've realized it. Yiqing Luo's words made the executive elder's face turn even more steely. You really knew what would happen? The executive elder's words attracted the surrounding panic-stricken crowd as they all looked over. After witnessing the white dragon opening its mouth and sucking a person dry, he wanted to escape, but he failed countless times. Everyone's hearts were filled with panic, irritation, and anxiety. Now that they suddenly heard the executive elder's words, the crowd seemed to have found a point to vent as they uniformly gathered around. Executive elder, what did you say? This lady, she knew all of this long ago? Right. Earlier, before the white dragon came out from the eggshell, I heard her shouting that it's not a dragon egg. I heard it too. Initially, when I saw her appear, I thought she was trying to create a scene because she wasn't able to get the first prize, so I specially took a few more glances. I also heard her shouting that it's not a dragon egg, that monster isn't a dragon at all. The crowd then started to recall Yiqing Luo's existence. Recalling what Yiqing Luo had said after she rushed down from the second floor's private room. How do you know that it's not a dragon egg? Did you already know all of this long ago? Or should I say, actually all of this was designed by you? Hearing the various large powerhouses' cultivators as they kept on berating her, Yiqing Luo started to laugh. Facing the crowd's accusations. Even the expression on her face didn't change at all. She only glanced at the crowd lazily as she gave a smile which didn't look like a smile. What benefits do I get from scheming against you? I even included myself in the scheme. Do you think I'm silly? You just don't want to let the treasure gathering to lose the bet with Zhongcheng exchange. So you intentionally... Before she could finish her words, she was interrupted by Yiqing Luo with a laugh. Looks like you're really quite silly. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes narrowed as a biting cold aura burst forth. She raised a finger. First, this thing was obtained by Zhongqing Trading House. It has nothing to do with me or treasure gathering. Then he raised his second finger. Secondly, this thing, before it finally breaks out of its shell, the bidding price is 500 million crystals. According to the total amount of the two trading houses, the total amount of crystals that the Treasures Trading House has will not necessarily be lower than the Zhongqing Trading House. At this point, the girl's voice was clearly suppressed, revealing an irresistible coercion. Thirdly, I do not know what kind of monster this thing is. However, I am certain that it is not a dragon. At the most crucial moment I did warn you, but none of you listened to me. Yiqing Luo slowly retracted her raised hand as her arms crossed over her chest, as she calmly glanced at the crowd in front of her. You've lost quite a number of elites, which can only mean that they are overly greedy. Everyone was so stunned by Yiqing Luo's frenzied rebuke that they didn't say a single word of rebuttal. Indeed. At that time, Everyone wanted to be the first person the young dragon saw. Chapter 3685. They had no right to blame Yiqing Luo. Aluo aluo. Not far away, Pei Xing's worried voice was heard. Pei Xing, Xiao Yinyan and Old Lai hurriedly rushed towards her direction. Seeing that the three of them were fine, Yiqing Luo was relieved. Just as her lips curled up and walked towards them, a burst of exclamations rang around. Only to see that white dragon which had the size of an adult man rushing towards Pei Xing's direction with lightning speed. That white dragon's target was very obvious. Almost without any hesitation. The surrounding people were also frightened by this scene as they fled in all directions, for fear of being bitten by the white dragon. Ah Sheng, be careful. Yiqing Luo's expression congealed as she flipped her wrist and a flame feather fan leapt out from her fingertips. Following that, a beautiful wind blade pressed towards the white dragon. As this imposing manner pressed downwards, the wind blade exploded on the white dragon's body. The explosive sound shocked the surroundings. The crowd felt as though the ground they were standing on was shaking violently because of the explosion. Although Yiqing Luo's move was to force the white dragon away and quickly released her strength, but the profound energy which was gathered was obviously directed towards the white dragon. Following that, the young lady leapt. Her fiery red dress fluttered in the sky. Her dress fluttered in the wind like the tail of a phoenix spreading its wings, drawing a beautiful arc in the air. Just as Yiqing Luo made her move, Pei Xing also reacted as he swiftly dodged to the other side. Following that, he felt a strong gust of yin qi brushing past him. Although it didn't seep into his body, but he was pushed back a few steps by the remaining power of the yin qi. Xiao Yinyan was still shouting vigilantly beside his ear. Pei Xing didn't let his guard down just because he avoided the first wave of yin qi attack. He rolled on the ground and avoided it again. At the same time, Yiqing Luo had already leapt in front of him. The fingers holding the glower flame fan flicked quickly. Like an excited fairy, the most beautiful brilliance was blooming on her fingertips. Boom boom boom. The glower flame fan released the profound energy, like a hot knife through butter, directly towards the white dragon's face. The powerful pressure shocked the surroundings. The ground shook. Like a spiderweb, it spread out densely. Everyone hid very far away. They were afraid that if they were not careful, the white dragon would turn around and attack them again. Basically, those who were bitten by the white dragon would not have the strength to fight back. In an instant they would be sucked dry by the white dragon. That lady, isn't she Lady D from the treasure-gathering sect? Isn't she a friend of that lord from the Red Clearness Pavilion? Doesn't she know that the monster is invulnerable? Profound energy attacks have no effect on that monster at all. I'm afraid that young lady's life is in danger. Why didn't the lord of the Red Clearness Pavilion help her? If that lord takes action, this monster will definitely be dealt with. Yiqing Luo was restraining the white dragon, and at the same time she was filtering the important contents of the crowd's discussion, as she memorized it in her mind. Invulnerable? Impervious to fire and water? Could it be that her guess was right? Thinking of this, Yiqing Luo's expression turned grave. Bang! The sound of a heavy object falling to the ground was heard. Thick black mist spread in all directions. The crowd only saw something being thrown out by a majestic force. The crowd shook their heads helplessly. Looks like that lord from the Red Clearness Pavilion really has no intention to take action. This young lady? Such a pity? That regretful tone had yet to finish. Chapter 3686. The black fog dispersed. The thing that flew out smashed heavily on the ground, creating a huge crater. And in that deep pit, it was an entirely white thing. What? Wasn't that the monster which looked like a white dragon? The thing which was sent flying, was that white dragon monster. Everyone was stunned by the scene in front of them. Her attack is effective against that monster? The profound energy fluctuations on her, isn't that powerful? Why was she able to send that monster flying? What's going on? Did any of you see clearly what she did earlier? Everyone's hearts were filled with questions. Those present were basically from various main cities, various powerhouses. Naturally their abilities were all above average. Because of this, Yiqing Luo's level of profound energy was considered normal among them. But, was this really normal? Their attacks and counterattacks had no effect on the white dragon monster at all. Yiqing Luo's attack was able to send that monster flying. When that monster, swaying its body, climbed out of the deep pit, that made everyone even more stunned. That monster swayed as it stood up. With a kacha sound, that jade-like white dragon horn on the top of its head directly broke off from its head. Half of the dragon horn hung on its head. It swayed for a few times. Finally it still fell off from its head, dropping onto the ground. What made everyone's hair stand was, after the dragon horn was broken, but not a drop of blood was seen. That white monster totally didn't feel any pain. It totally didn't bother about the half of the dragon horn which had dropped on the ground. Roar! A deafening dragon roar came from the white monster's mouth. The white monster's figure, which was about the size of an adult man, suddenly leapt towards the sky. A spiraling dragon body instantly appeared in front of everyone's eyes. Such a huge dragon covered the entire sky. It was a patch of gray. The surrounding scenery also became darker by a lot. Dragon. It's really a dragon. This dragon. What on earth is this dragon? What does it want to do? Everyone was extremely shocked. In their hearts there was fear towards the white dragon but also yearning. Yiqing Luo raised her head and looked at the hovering white dragon which covered the entire sky as her slender brows creased slightly. Then his gaze fell on the ground on the half of the dragon horn. However, she did not pay too much attention to the white dragon. Instead, he put away the glowing flame fan and slowly walked towards Pei Sheng. Sheng, are you alright? Pei Sheng's face was filled with shock as he looked at the white dragon which was circling in the sky, and then looked at Yiqing Luo in shock. You're the one who's alright? That's a real dragon? No. Yiqing Luo shook her head with a grave expression. I roughly know how this white dragon came to be. I'm not mistaken, this thing is very difficult to deal with. Pei Sheng did her best to calm herself down. Then, can we still walk out of the auction? Pei Sheng's question was exactly what everyone wanted to ask. The two executive elders were the closest to Yiqing Luo. He also heard Yiqing Luo denying that white dragon's identity and opened his mouth to ask, You say that's not a dragon, then what is that thing? No matter how one looked at it, it was a dragon. Especially now it was spiraling in midair. That mighty and domineering look was totally a dragon. But when they heard Di Luo say that it wasn't a dragon. Chapter 3687. Yiqing Luo replied with a question. Do you believe me? The executive elder was stunned. How were they supposed to answer this question? They didn't understand this young lady in front of them? How were they supposed to believe her? And this young lady's ability was probably not as good as theirs. Only when they looked at Yiqing Luo's calm face, there was an inexplicable feeling in their hearts. At this moment, those who were nearer to them had no time to dwell on this question. They looked in awe at the white dragon which was circling above their heads. Even though it had lost that pair of dragon horns, as a dragon's prestige it still existed. Thinking of the terror of the white dragon, they had no other choice. They were almost choking with sobs. We believe you. Misty, we believe you. So, I beg you, please ask the people from Red Clear Pavilion to save us. Here, only Yiqing Luo's attack could cause harm to that monster. If they wanted to leave this place alive, they could only rely on Yiqing Luo. The commotion over here naturally attracted the attention of the hall masters beside them. Hall Master Lu squinted his lively and adorable eyes as the expression on his face was very cold. If you want us to believe you, shouldn't you first take out the capital to make us believe you? At the very least, you have to tell me what exactly is that monster. Yiqing Luo looked at Hall Master Lu calmly as her emotions were very indifferent. If you don't believe me, even if I tell you what that monster is, you won't believe me. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. The atmosphere froze for a moment. Just at this moment, the silent executive elder suddenly opened his mouth. We believe you. The two hall masters frowned as they looked at the executive elder. Their mouths moved, but in the end they didn't say anything. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards as her long and narrow eyes curled into a sinister arc. She slowly raised her head and looked at the white monster in the sky. Following that, she slowly looked at the surrounding crowd. Finally her gaze fixed on a corner. How long does Without Embroiling City's mysterious maiden intend to hide for? Everyone was waiting for Yiqing Luo's reply. Hearing Yiqing Luo's words, many pairs of eyes turned in the direction of the corner in unison. Without Embroiling City's mysterious maiden? Xiao Yulu? What did she mean by mentioning Princess Yulu at this time? Under everyone's gaze, a slender figure slowly walked out from the darkness. The woman was dressed in white and had a graceful bearing. A confident and flamboyant smile hung on her beautiful face. She just stood there looking down at everyone with a superior attitude. Princess Yulu. Xiao Yinyan's heart sank as he looked at the imposing woman before him. A sense of unease welled up in everyone's hearts. He seemed to have guessed something, but he couldn't believe it. Yiqing Luo looked at Xiao Yulu indifferently as she said word by word, "Just as what you think, that monster was brought by without embroiling city's mysterious maiden." As soon as these words came out, it caused a huge commotion. Everyone looked at Xiao Yulu in disbelief. Why? Princess Yulu wants to do such a thing? This is without embroiling city. If she ruins the auction, wouldn't without embroiling city be the one to suffer? What's in it for her? Listening to everyone's doubtful discussion, Yiqing Luo's lips twitched. This must be the celebrity effect. Because Xiao Yulu was mysterious maiden. So even in her heart, she guessed that this matter had something to do with Xiao Yulu. Chapter 3688. Yiqing Luo tilted her head as her lips curled upwards, giving a sarcastic smile. If I didn't guess wrongly to cause such a consequence, mysterious maiden, you yourself should be very flustered, right? She asked each and every word. Her tone rose slightly. As expected. After Yiqing Luo's words were questioned, Xiao Yulu's arrogant face froze for a moment. Her beautiful eyes flickered as she suppressed the fluster in her heart, maintaining her voice to be more dignified. The dragon egg is indeed the auction item that Zhongqing Trading House had spent a lot of effort to obtain. As you said, I am also very shocked to cause such a consequence because I don't know anything at all. No. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. You're shocked not because you don't know anything but because you're merely being used by those people once again. She tilted her head, her black hair spread behind her back, contrasting with that blazing red dress. It was dazzling and moving. She smiled as her eyes were filled with ridicule. You really don't learn to be obedient, time and time again being used by the same group of people. This is the first time I've seen such a dumb person like you. Xiao Yulu's smile could not be maintained as she clenched her fists tightly. I'm not cheated. Although Zhongqing has some responsibility for this matter, but don't think of pushing all the responsibility onto me. Don't be in a hurry to deny or refute. Yiqing Luo's smile remained unchanged. The person behind you, I'm afraid his motive is not just to deal with me. She paused as her gaze swept across the crowd. Could it be that until now, everyone still hasn't discovered the most important danger? Everyone's hair stood on end from Yiqing Luo's question. One by one they looked around, surveying the surroundings. Some of them stared at the white dragon monster which was hovering in the sky. Other than letting out a dragon roar from time to time, there was no movement at all. Suddenly a cry of alarm was heard. Oh no! We've fallen into a trap. Fallen into a trap? What on earth? Everyone was puzzled. Yiqing Luo also looked towards the direction of the voice. She had not expected that the first person to discover the abnormality of the auction was actually someone she knew. The people standing in that direction formed a group, about 12 to 13 people. They were dressed in green and black attire. The blood-colored flower embroidered on the sleeve was very eye-catching. Weren't those people the members of the Bloody Mercenaries? The person who spoke just now was Bloody Mercenary Group's vice leader, Bo Songyi. Following behind them were a few of the team members whom he had met at the West Cliff Mountain. However, Su Qingbingbin was not there. The person who spoke was the vice leader of the Bloody Mercenary Group, who was ranked second. When everyone asked the question, their tone was rather polite. Facing the crowd's questions, Bo Songyi ignored him. Instead, he walked straight towards Yiqing Luo. You've already seen through it, right? Yiqing Luo smiled without saying a word. Bo Songyi's handsome face immediately turned into a ball. He pursed his lips tightly. After a long time he looked at Pei Sheng and clenched his fists. Fortunately, Zishi didn't follow us in. Pei Sheng felt as if his heart was being violently strangled by that gaze. He lowered his head and avoided eye contact with Bo Songyi. What's going on? Don't keep us guessing. Look at the time. We need to unite. That monster might be resting now. What if it starts to suck people again after it has rested enough? Chapter 3689. Yiqing Luo looked at the crowd, her face was filled with fear. The sneer at the corner of his mouth deepened. Her lips curled into a smile which didn't look like a smile. Haven't you discovered? Today's auction is nothing but a scheme. The auction will gather representatives from the 3 main cities of the Earth Realm and various powerhouses to take part in it. The people present are all considered as the top figures of the various powerhouses, and are also the core of the various powerhouses. If anything happens to you, it should have a huge impact on the powerhouses behind you, right? When the crowd heard that, they were shocked. At this moment, they finally understood the meaning behind Yi Qingluo's words. In the auction, there were representatives from various powerhouses from various main cities. And they were trapped in the auction, unable to leave this place. And there was a monster which was impervious to swords and spears, water and fire, eyeing them covetously. If they were not careful, they might become the food in that monster's stomach. 3 main cities, various powerhouses' elite representatives, were trapped in the auction, and faced with the danger of losing their lives. If they were all annihilated. Not to mention that their powerhouses would be greatly affected. The entire Earth domain was probably going to experience an earth-shattering change. What on earth was this for? Why did they have to be trapped in the auction? Were they trying to make use of them to achieve some goal? Or to catch them all in one go, causing chaos in the Earth realm? After the crowd regained their senses, they instantly became vigilant. All of them looked around in astonishment. There were some who continued to trying to walk out of the auction. But time after time they returned to the original spot like ghosts hitting the wall. Everyone's heart, bit by bit, sank to the bottom. The atmosphere was terrifyingly gloomy. Some of the outer city powerhouses tensed up, stared at Xiao Yulu. It's you, right? The dragon egg is the auction item of your Zhongcheng exchange. You're the one who brought the dragon egg. What motive do you have? One of them took the lead to question. The others immediately shifted their gazes onto Xiao Yulu. All of their eyes were scarlet red, as though they had grabbed onto the only hope in a difficult situation. Some of them couldn't be bothered about Xiao Yulu's mysterious maiden identity, as they rushed up to detain Xiao Yulu. Presumptuous. Xiao Yulu's expression was dignified as she shouted angrily, "You dare to touch me?" Now Xiao Yulu was arrogant. This caused the expressions of the people from the various superpowers to turn extremely ugly. What's your purpose? Why did you use the dragon egg to trap us in the auction? Xiao Yulu? Here you are no longer the Empyrean fairy. If you don't let us out, we'll kill you first. Everyone had been forced into a corner. After all, so many people had died. They were all sucked dry by the monster, leaving behind only a set of clothes. No one wants to become like that. Moreover, if Xiao Yulu had planned all of this from the very beginning, then they had traveled thousands of miles to participate in this auction. It was like a sheep walking into a tiger's den, walking into a trap. Perhaps there was a deeper conspiracy behind all of this. The more they thought about it, the more they imagined what would happen next. The more he thought about it, the more panicked he became. No one knew what would happen in the next instant. No one knew when the monster hovering in the sky would launch another attack. Chapter 3690. Ever since Xiao Yulu was born, she had always been surrounded by the stars as she grew up. Good family background. Excellent genes created her top-notch innate talent. Later on, Linglong Palace took a liking to her and nurtured her to become mysterious maiden. Since young, Xiao Yulu had never suffered any setbacks. Many things which were extremely difficult for others to do, she could do it easily. So she had never been treated in such a manner like today. In front of her, those people who were smiling amiably and fawning over her earlier were now looking at her with a furious expression as they spoke harshly. There were even people who directly took action. All their emotions were directed at her. Xiao Yulu's chest was heaving up and down violently. The anger in her eyes kept surging. Earlier she had applied the beautifying cream on her face which had regained its original beauty. Under the contortion it started to hurt faintly. She tried her best to control the anger in her chest. She slowly raised her hand and her slender fingers gently caressed her face. This was to prevent his face from being ruined like before. Her pair of beautiful eyes were tainted with a cold frost, like floating ice, as she stared at Yi Qingluo with hatred and treachery. The humiliation that she was suffering now. It was all because of this slut. Ever since she met this slut, her smooth sailing life had disappeared. This slut was simply the bane of her existence. If it wasn't for Di Luo, how could she possibly be cheated by that bunch of black-robed men? How could she have fallen to such a state where even she herself didn't know what to do? Right. That's right. She indeed didn't know what to do. If she knew how to leave the auction. Long before the white dragon mutated, she would have escaped. How could she possibly wait till now? Xiao Yulu had always thought that that bunch of black-robed men were Di Luo's enemies. But due to the Underworld Palace's power, she didn't dare to take action personally. So she secretly helped her, hoping that she could deal with Di Luo. She thought that the black-robed men passed this dragon egg to her so that she could win the bet with Di Luo. But, until the white dragon mutated and sucked all those people dry, she then understood. That bunch of black-robed men's target wasn't just Yiqing Luo, and without embroiling city. More importantly, the entire land. Xiao Yulu was able to stand out in the Ling Long Hall and become without embroiling city's Empyrean lady. She was no fool. After everything that had happened, he connected it to Di Luo's speculation. She could roughly guess the purpose of the group of black-robed men with just a little thought. It had already come to this, she could only rely on herself now. If the ambition of those men in black was really that great, as the hero, it was very likely that she would get a share of the benefits. Upon having this thought, Xiao Yulu's eyes flickered, as if her face was covered in a layer of ice. Suddenly her red lips curled up, and her aura was imposing. She directly walked past the people who blocked her way and spoke harshly. His gaze was directed directly at Yiqing Luo. Di Luo, you keep saying that you're trying to push all the blame onto me. I can't help but suspect your motives. Xiao Yulu raised an eyebrow and sneered, I feel that you're jealous that I found the dragon egg and you're worried that the Sincerity Trading House will win the most honor in this auction, so you lost the bet between us. That you're tuning in to the Sword Dance in the Vast Sky YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.